In Our Expert Opinion podcast is brought to you by SVN Saunders Ralston Dancer Real Estate, a full-service land and commercial brokerage with almost $4 billion in transactions since 1996.
And we are back. Hopefully our mic volumes are both the same, so that way I'm not screaming in people's ear and you're just at a whisper, but...
Yeah, mic check 1 2 1
yeah.
2.
I have two people in the room with me. I have my co-host, Chad Mills, who I wish had a camera on him because he has the most ridiculous goggles on, so I can't see his eyes. And normally during a podcast, I will look over at Chad to see what his reaction is, and today I will not be able to do that.
Well, they're pretty cool. I want to try them out.
I've got a face for radio, so
Also true.
that's why I got no camera on me.
Also true. He's just like this ominous figure, kind of just, every now and then we hear his voice.
Maybe one day.
Yeah, maybe one day.
Today's not one day, though.
Same with our dearly, not dead, but departed from this podcast.
Good.
Friend,
Nice.
Michael Huntley. Poor Michael.
Yeah, all this mic talk this morning. That's
I-
too early.
It is too. It
Too early
is
for mic
too
talk.
early for that. And I have the newly appointed managing director of our Orlando office, Rafael Mendez. But I feel that you have a couple of other names.
Yeah, people call me Ralph, Rafi, if you're from the Hispanic community.
Yeah. I will pretty much answer to anything. People all the time are like, Jessica or Lindsay, and I'm like, hey girl, what's up? So not that I have a million names, but I will probably just answer to anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Linda, you said newly appointed, and I wasn't on the right screen, so I'm going to play this now.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, there it is.
A little bit of a
Like I
delay.
said, too early.
It is too early. No, so I will get into that in just a little bit. But in the meantime, I kind of wanted to get into your background, what led you into commercial real estate, maybe what you think of the Orange County market, which is where you are, and then we'll see what else we can get into. But
Yeah.
so you are from?
So originally from South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I'm living in Altamont Springs now. Family is of Cuban and Puerto Rican descent, so a little bit of salsa y merengue for my folks out there that enjoy it. But I wasn't seeing myself in real estate when I was getting ready to, start a career in life, and ended up here through, talking with family and getting it into that way,
Yeah. So I think in your biography on our website, it says that your uncle was in...
So, awesome. So he's, I'll pick it up from there, right? My uncle, very pivotal in helping me get into real estate. He was instrumental. He helped me out a lot. And he started out in property management, but over time, he started getting involved in deals, buying through sweat equity, as many young investors know about, and then slowly bought out his partners and started building his portfolio. And so when I was getting ready to get into real estate, he was somebody that I leaned into. Hey, if you were kind of doing things all over again, what would you have done? He said, I would have gotten into brokerage instead of property management. And here I am. I started off doing residential, not necessarily by choice, but over time, started doing more and more commercial deals as I moved to a firm that allowed me to do that. So I was a resi-mercial agent for quite a number of years, and did, obviously industrial, office, retail, you name it, all the food groups and real estate. And now here I am with SVN and getting ready to kick things off in a big way in Orlando.
Yeah. Actually, that's how I got into commercial real estate too, was that I kept talking to all these people, like judges and attorneys, and I had an overwhelming majority tell me that if they could go back and do it all over again, that they would get into real estate. And it's just very funny how you can, I think, looking back on things that more people would have done it. So I'm really glad that we've both, made the switch over. But are you, how long were you in residential?
So I've been doing real estate for
Yeah.
the last 8 years.
Okay.
And for 5 of those years, I was doing residential commercial.
Okay.
And really just 1 year doing it all residential, which was my first year
Yeah.
back in 2015.
Residential's hard.
I wouldn't say it's hard. It's just a different
It is
different
different.
mindset, different clients that you've got to work with. And, I've always managed businesses. When I was doing, massage therapy in the health industry, I was managing the spas, managing the different practices, and, building those teams, which I think lends to why I'm, moving into the position I am now.
Yeah.
And, when I got into residential, the biggest challenge is I was used to dealing with businesses
Yeah.
and, vendors. And when you're dealing with residential, it's all personal. It's all, all about your emotional, how you feel about the house. It's not about how is it going to serve your business or your practice. So it just wasn't for me.
I have a very nervous laugh. So when people get hurt or cry around me, it's not that I think it's funny. It's that I have a very nervous laugh. So whenever people get super emotional about a house, I would start laughing. And so that doesn't always go over well. So that's why I have to be a commercial agent and not a residential agent.
Yeah.
Also, it's very, I don't know if tedious is the right word, but there's just so many between MLS and I don't even know, but I know that I prefer commercial.
Yeah, it's definitely a different world.
Yeah.
But, it's whatever floats your boat, I guess. But
Yeah.
for me, it's commercial real estate. I
Yeah.
love it.
So what are you said you do office, industrial, you've done some retail.
I've done some retail. When you're first starting out doing commercial real estate, you kind of do a little bit of everything, leasing your 500 square foot office to doing your 10,000 square foot buildings or 20,000 square foot buildings and leasing out half of it. So it's pretty exciting, but I mainly stick to industrial and office.
Yeah.
And within the office sector, I tend to work more with attorneys, accountants, or even medical office users, not so much dentists, but private practice.
My favorite sector of commercial real estate is industrial. And I never ever thought that would be the case, but it just seems to me that my industrial clients really, really have it together. They know exactly what they need, they know exactly what they want, and they are the easiest people to work with. It's not always easy to find them spaces.
No, it's not.
But they're very easy to work with because I feel like, they've been doing it for a while, whatever business they're in, they know what size roll-up doors they need. They know if they need grade or dock high, and I have always enjoyed working with my industrial clients.
Yeah, likewise. That's why I stick working with them. They tend to be very practical, logical, and is it going to work or is it not going to work? And, does this box fit our need or does it not? And if it doesn't, let's just move on to the next one.
Yeah.
And like you said, whether it's grade, dock high, ceiling heights, clear heights, for whatever racking systems they need to use. So they tend to be a lot easier and less demanding.
My medical clients are the most demanding, and I understand why. They obviously have so many certifications that they have to pass, and, their offices and their exam rooms need to be just right. But it is very difficult to find a perfect space and have it built out the way that they need it. So those are my problem children.
Yeah, they tend to be a challenge. I mean, I've got a building that right now for lease, and it's medical office, but it was built in the 80s. And so now all the medical users that are looking at the space, they're like, this is not functional anymore. It's not going to work. And so now I've even got a cat hospital looking at that space. So
What is a cat hospital?
they just take care of cats.
Really?
Meow, meow.
Wow.
All day long.
Wow.
So, but I actually stopped by their location in Orlando, and it's funny, the cat people, you see all the different cat people coming in and out of the business, but it's a pretty good business. It's busy all the time. It's almost like a retail center with how many, I didn't know that many people had cats.
There are many cat people in the world, so I would imagine that's pretty lucrative. And so, okay, you did residential, you got into commercial, and you focused on office and industrial. And then I think you said you also worked with daycares and maybe like some special use.
Yes. I've done special uses for churches and daycares. And it's pretty interesting because with, daycares and childcare, you have to look at how many kids per square foot, and is it a daycare or is it just an early learning center? Because you can get away with certain things that with the early learning center versus the daycare that you couldn't otherwise. And so those are pretty interesting. Sold a couple of those businesses as well, and with the building included. And it's always fun when you see them rebranding and then selling it off.
You were
as
in
an
business
investment.
brokerage.
Yeah, I've done business brokerage.
Really?
I was with the BBF previously.
What is that?
The Business Brokerage of Florida.
Okay.
It's the Association for Business Brokers.
Okay.
And it's interesting because, out of 100 businesses that, go live every so often, probably less than 20 sell every year.
Yeah.
So for every 100. So
Yeah.
it's only 20%. So it's tough business.
I would say so. I think it would be really tough to value businesses. I know that there's like accountants and stuff and I guess obviously business brokers as well, but
Yeah.
I would think some of them would be really hard to put a number on.
Yeah, especially if they're taking cash. The business owners taking cash out and not reporting it. It can get a little tricky on proving the numbers, because they're telling you, hey, this is how much it's worth and this is how much we're getting.
Okay.
And then you find out, well, you've been taking out cash for a while here. So then you got to put the values back in or subtract values.
Yeah.
It gets complicated.
Yeah.
It's because it's a hard business to cut your teeth in. I don't do so much of it. I'll represent a buyer here or there. It's a lot easier and help them, making sure that they've got their CPAs and attorneys on board for the due diligence, and they handle that. But, it's a whole different world. It's exciting.
It is a very different world. And now, though, okay, so, Saunders, Ralston, Dantzler is a part of SVN, which is worldwide. We have offices everywhere, except we did not have an office in Orlando.
Yes.
We have our office here in Lakeland, and we've talked about it on the podcast before. We purchased as if I had anything to do with it.
Yeah, we had to sign off on it before they did it.
Todd, Dean, and Gary purchased the building that we're in now. They've totally redone it. It's a beautiful building. It is located between a McDonald's and a funeral home, which I always am like, if we eat too much of that, we're going to end up over there a lot quicker.
Yeah.
But so now, though, we've very established in Lakeland, Polk County, and now we're moving into Orange County, which brings us to you.
Yes. Obviously I joined the firm last year in June, so I wasn't anticipating, to be in this position. But, I guess, when you keep asking for like, hey, when are we going to put an office in Orlando? I'm knocking on JV's door all the time or sending him an email. He's like, well, hey, how about, we talked to you about taking on this role and leading us. And so I'm excited for that future. We're right in downtown, right across from Lake Eola. Mm-hmm. So it's a great location. We're right with the other large brokerages out there. So we're elbow to elbow with everybody. And
for anybody
accessible.
Familiar with downtown Orlando, you're in the day building.
Yep, we're in the day building. My
attorney that I work for did some work with that. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
It's a very small world. It's when I was telling her about it, she was like, oh my gosh, I know that building quite well.
It's a big attorney building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. What floor are you guys on?
We're going to be on the 4th floor, right next to the landlord, so we can't be late for the rent,
Yeah, he's got direct access. But it's my understanding that the Orlando office is going to be set up similar to our Lakeland office, which we have these things called like touchdown, pads, areas, something like that.
Yeah, so it's going to be similar setup. Obviously we're not going to have all the wood decor and the rustic feel as the Lakeland office, but we're going to have private offices. We will have touchdown stations and even senior advisor stations where you can work, plus a conference room. And it's going to be exciting. We're looking to take off running over there, working with advisors that are mid-tier as well as newer advisors. So it's going to be an exciting time building that office.
Have you brought on any advisors yet?
So we started to bring on several advisors, and some of them are newer to the business. We're in the process of interviewing advisors that, have done incredible amounts of business as their own brokerages in the past, and they're looking to just kind of downsize but still do business, and we're bringing them on board and just getting ready to crush it. I'm excited. Like you mentioned, SVN has this presence, and it's a fresh brand, has a lot of resources. You can compete with the best of the best out there because of everything that we offer, yet we didn't have that presence there. And that was one thing that was expressed to me, like, hey, we're looking to, for the next 5, 10, and beyond years, to really bring that brand, but also the Saunders, Ralston, Dancer feel to it. And that's going to be our commercial arm, while the Lakeland folks are crushing it in land. That'll be our right hook for the commercial district, and just looking to take over and explode.
Yeah, I'm sure Gary's really thrilled, because Gary Ralston worked on the CNL building downtown Orlando. So he's like, he's not Pitbull, but so he's not Mr. Worldwide, but he's Mr. like downtown Orlando.
No, he's pretty Pitbull-ish. He's well known.
We are falling.
That wasn't a button that I got to click this time.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that was.
We are falling apart in here. Something just crashed.
No worries. Maybe we'll, get it out in post editing or whatnot.
We'll edit it out.
Nah. We'll
Maybe Chad and I shouldn't be doing podcasts in the morning, as it turns out. Okay.
Was it our first podcast that we ever did that the lights went out?
Yes. Okay. We try so hard here.
I think this was kind of our only second blooper.
Yeah. This is our third. We try really hard, so we'll get back to the Orlando office in a minute. Chad and I were asked to host a panel for our land conference.
I was there. It was exciting.
Yes. I get up there. We are maybe 3 minutes in, and my earring flies off of my head. I'm totally still. My earring flies off of my head, lands on the stage, and it's like ting, 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 ting. And I'm just looking at Chad. Chad's looking at me. Dean's looking at me. I'm looking at my earring.
That was the first day, right?
I tried to go get it, and I dropped something also, right?
He dropped his iPad
off the corner of the chair.
Yes, and it was just one of these things where I'm like, could I just have just this one time that things could go right? Could just this one thing, be easy? But it ended up being a good panel, and we're not going to let this desk crashing in our studio wreck this either.
No, it's perfectly fine. Just somebody needs to tighten the bolts, but it's part of the life experience, right? Nothing ever is perfect.
We need better furniture. No, I'm just kidding. No. Okay, moving back to the Orlando office. Okay, but you've been doing commercial real estate in Orange County for the past couple of years.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, the last 6
I've
years.
only done a couple of things over there, but it was nice, I liked it. I've done stuff in Tampa, Orlando, whatever, here, Lakeland. But I feel like the Orlando market is obviously way more saturated with brokers than Lakeland.
Yes.
But I think that the SVN, and Saunders, Ralston, Dancer as a whole is I think we're different than these other people.
Yes, it's a unique fit. It was part of the reason why I selected to come here, even though it was over an hour away.
Yeah.
There was just something particular about.
Let me be clear. It should not be over an hour away.
Yeah.
But it is over an hour away.
It is. It is. And when you factor for traffic, it's a little bit longer. But, when I was making a decision to come here, obviously there's the big, training and all the support you get. But there was just something that clicked when I, met Gary, Dean, and Todd, and then JB. It just felt like family, I would say. It was odd, even though I didn't know anything about the office. So, to be part of bringing it to Orlando, that's going to be just tremendous, and I look forward to the opportunity of crushing it.
I always, kind of rely on those three no matter where I'm at. You know, if I'm doing like a land deal, they'll always kind of not bring in, but, you know, rely on Dean, or at least his reputation, you know. And I feel like Gary's reputation in Orlando is very reliable. And, you know, I think he really made a name for himself. And so I think it's wonderful that we're finally, because I know, you know, some of us have done deals over there, but it's not often enough. But I always see other brokerage signs in downtown, and I'm like, man, we should really be down there. So I'm really excited for you guys.
Well, we look to add plenty of our signs down there and expand our footprint. Gary's definitely, he's well known out there. I can't, you know, some of the listings that I've won, you know, when the clients, you know, look up, you know, your company, they see who's associated, and they're like, oh, I know Gary, or I know Todd or Dean. So they automatically feel, okay, I know I'm in good hands. Yeah. You know, because to be part of this, you do have to know what you're doing. I mean, the podcast is called In Our Expert Opinion, right? So, you know, you have to, you know, really know what you're doing when it comes to commercial real estate to be part of the team. And we're looking to, you know, bring on new advisors as well as, you know, experienced teams to help us, you know, plant our flag there and grow. So
for the new advisors, you guys are doing training with them. Because you're not just going to send them out into the world and be like, here you go.
Well, you know, it's funny you mentioned that, because that was my experience. You know, every brokerage that I was with was like, here's a book, or, you know, hey, just start prospecting, you know, or just start networking and passing your card out. And there was no real strategy on how to build your business. And so I think, one, you know, I get to be part of SVN growing there, but two is I get to impact those agents that are newer and teach them the right way, teach them how to grow their business, you know, how to properly network, you know, focus on whether it's going to be 2 or 3 property types or just one, just help them build the right foundation. And so, you know, it's exciting to be part of that.
How many advisors are you wanting to bring on in Orlando?
So, you know, the goal is to obviously grow our presence tremendous, but, you know, really the office can fit at least 16 to 20 people, because it's a pretty decent size office. But this, you know, we're looking to have at least 30, 40 advisors there in the future. Wow. In all different levels of the business. And I mean, if it grows bigger than that, then that's more exciting, but we're looking more to have quality versus quantity. And, you know, people that are going to not only produce, but produce business the right way, you know, because it is a big part of our company standards here, our ethics, to, you know, the core principles of our office, plus, you know, being a realtor or CCIM, SIOR, or ALC for those that deal with land. So we definitely want to bring that reputation here, because we've got some power hitters that stand firm in the business.
Yeah, I think that's SRD in general. You know, I think that they want people who, even if you're new, that are going to be able to produce and have steady clients, steady work. You know, I've dealt with the bigger brokerages like ours, or like SVN. They just have hundreds of advisors, and I've dealt with them. They're not always top notch, I would say. And they might say the same about me. I have no idea, but I hope not. But it's one of those things where I'm like, wow, you guys really are just letting people loose out there. Like, that's very frustrating to me, because it's like, I now know what I'm doing, and I want to work on the other side, you know, with other people who know what they're doing.
Yeah, that always makes the deal funner, right? You know, where you don't have to pick up the slack from somebody else. And, you know, I've had to do that on some deals. Yeah. But I think with our team here, we strive to know what we're talking about. And so part of our training, especially for newer advisors, it's before you even pick up the phone, know your market. Yeah. You know your audience. You know, who are you going after? Are you going after property owners that are landlords, or property owners that are owner users? You know, you've got to know who you're speaking to, and so you just don't want to pick up the phone and just start dialing for dollars, because you will experience a lot of defeat with that, and then there will be a huge learning curve. So we try to minimize that with the training that we're going to offer, and you know, it's going to be exciting for me because it's a new role in real estate. But, we're not going to just push advisors out there so that you're not experiencing that, at least when you come talk to SVN SRD.
Yeah.
Right. When you come talk to us, you're talking to, somebody that has the answer or is working closely with somebody that has the answer for it.
Yeah. I think that's important too, that advisors have either their directors or their brokers that they can go to and get through any type of situation. I know that I, go to Todd and Gary and Dean all the time for stuff. If there's anything that's like tricky that I haven't necessarily had experience with, because I don't ever want to scare my clients
Yeah.
or the other side. And I want the deal to go through, for my client. They're the ones who are looking for property or looking for a buyer or whatever.
Yeah.
So good to know that there's not going to just be a bunch of.
No, we're not going to do this. There's a big 10-year roadmap here.
Oh, good.
Of like markers that we want to hit and things that we want to put in place because, we want to build something lasting there. It's not a trial run. Let's see how this goes. Let's really run with this and get out there and establish ourselves as credible advisors in that market.
Yeah. Well, okay, so you had mentioned knowing the market. So what's going on in the Orange County market?
What's not going on in the Orange County market, right?
Because, okay, this is my point of view of it, is I'm like, there's nowhere to go in Orange County anymore. I feel like it is so, every time I drive into Orlando. First of all, I drove through Claremont the other day.
Yes.
There was just houses after houses after houses. I have never, that movie, The Big Short?
Yes.
That's what it reminded me of. Except obviously all of these houses were occupied and everybody was living in them and they were, kept up. But I have never seen something like that. It was wild to me.
Yeah, there's a ton of tract homes going up in Claremont. It's
Yeah.
funny you mentioned that. That's when we moved back to the U.S., that's where we moved to in 2001. And back then I used to hear stories like, oh, that used to be a cow pasture or that was an orange grove.
It was all cow pastures and orange groves.
Well, now when I talk to people that are moving there now, I'm like, yeah, that used to be a cow pasture. That was an orange grove. I was like, I guess it's like something you got to pass on.
It is.
Your rite of passage.
It's like folklore. Yeah.
It's like, is everybody, thinking the same
Everybody's
thing
a
here?
farmer. Yeah.
Everybody was a farmer out here. And I'm far from it. I'm a city boy. But, the market, yes, it depends on what type of property. We do have a big squeeze on inventory all across a lot of the food groups. I would say the spaces that we have the most flexibility for, business is going to be the office sector, especially downtown. There's a ton of offices because during COVID, they all moved out of those offices and into like suburban offices closer to their homes in Winter Park or in College Park or, in Claremont. They started buying those buildings because they figured I don't have to pay for parking anymore. It's closer to my house. I don't have to do this long commute and my team is working remote. So that's one of the trends that we've seen is that a lot of downtown office space has kind of been vacated, though with all the influx of people from like the Northeast, California, and different areas into Central Florida, we are seeing that office space is also being absorbed. So I would say offices are weakest, but everything else is on fire. Like the minute a multifamily deal comes on the market, it's gone. Sometimes even before it hits, build outs, templates and all that stuff. Industrial, you can't find anything. You're lucky if you can find something if it lasts 2 days on the market. I mean, I had a property on the market for less than 2 days before I had 3-4 LOIs for it. And we were asking a high number, and we were like, oh, we'll probably land about 13 a foot here, plus your triple net fees. And we got full price. People were like, hey, I'll offer you more. I'm like, sorry, buddy, we just signed this lease. The tenant, just didn't even have to see it. They sent us the LOI without even seeing it and ready to sign the lease with everything. So it is an insane market. Obviously, hospitality took a hit, but, ever since, our leadership in our state has allowed for business to be in business, we've been doing good. So Orange County is where it's at.
Yeah, I think so. What do you think is going to happen with all of that office space, though? I keep wondering, like, are they going to convert it to something else? It just seems like it's right now just this dead space that is not really moving. I have a couple office clients. So I'm like, I'm sorry, but I haven't received one phone call, on this space, or I've like marketed it with our, flyer or postcards or like an email campaign, and it just doesn't seem to be moving.
That was a concern, like probably at the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
But with Creative Village opening up in downtown Orlando, which is where UCF is going to be, EA Sports is moving there or is already in there, plus, all of the different, companies that are going to be servicing that market, which is the west side of downtown. That's bringing more users into the market. It's attracting, people that do need an office here. And so we are feeling, there is a little bit of a backdraft, I would say, but for the most part, it's still moving. Like I recently helped an engineering firm that was expanding into Orlando, into a downtown office. Like they said, we want to be in downtown. We don't want to be in our own building. We need to be in downtown because they do a lot of business with the city of Orlando and other municipalities in this area. So there's a huge demand for it, especially as our population keeps growing. If our population doesn't continue the growth rate, then maybe there'll be a cause for concern. But with the growth that we have now, I don't see it being an issue.
Yeah, well, that's good. It's a little scary, scary times
Yeah.
after COVID. But I have, in the past week, seen on TikTok and Instagram people.
Great news sources, by the way.
Oh, that's my only source. People who are just now going back to the office. I feel like there was a big wave of people that went back at the beginning of this year. And then I've seen so many videos talking about the day after Labor Day that they were expected to be back in the office. So I'm wondering if that will kind of have a trickle down effect here and more office users. At least I hope so for my clients' sake.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a huge need for it. And, Apple's one of those companies that said that as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we'll probably see an uptick there.
I know. I hope so. And so what can we expect this next year from our Orlando office?
So we expect to...
Well, first of all, when do you think that the office is going to be ready?
It'll be ready. Obviously we're waiting for furniture.
Everybody is waiting for furniture.
And, if you're in industrial, you know about supply chain issues, but they gave us the worst case scenario 6 weeks out. It's already been about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks since we ordered it. So we've got another 4 weeks of the worst case scenario. But once we get that, probably by the middle of October is when we'll look to launch it. And, we'll have open houses and, probably have 2 or 3 of those where we're inviting different brokers and different folks in the commercial real estate world to just come by, check us out, and, know that we're there officially.
I feel like we need to get some gift bags for people for that.
Yeah, we'll probably have some swag, stuff that we all get to give out over there. But it's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
I've already started talking to different lenders that I do business with and other vendors that do general contracting for commercial business only. Hey, be on the lookout. We're getting ready to open up shop here.
Yeah. And so then in the next year, after you guys open, what can we expect to see out of that office?
We'll have a lot more signs in Orange County.
Good.
Not just for land, but also for, in all food groups, multifamily, office, industrial, medical, everything you could think of. But we would have at least a good team with a good foundation that's out there, rocking and rolling and putting, building our pipeline for the future.
Good. Okay. Well, I really appreciate you I know it's hard to come from Altamont to Lakeland. I do know that drive well. It's very frustrating, especially with the Disney traffic. So I appreciate you making the time to get down here. We're really excited to see you in this new role and see what happens in Orlando. And thanks so much.
No, the pleasure's all mine. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Please don't forget, I haven't said this in the last couple of episodes, but for our listeners, please rate, review, subscribe anywhere that you listen to your podcast. And Rafael, how can people get in touch with you?
Real simple, at Rafael Mendez, CRE. Just type that into Google. It's linked to all my LinkedIn, Instagram, and everything.
Awesome. Well, thank you so
Thanks
much.
for coming in.
Thank you.